the one position that I think is going to create the most question marks this season is the linebacking core. Let's talk about the linebackers. So, overall, Phil still put out his position rankings earlier this week. He has South Carolina 14th in the SEC in the linebacking core. So let's talk about the linebackers. And our top 5 guys that I think is going to make the most impact for South Carolina. Let's start off with Fred Johnson. So Fred Johnson's the number 8 linebacker in the class of 2024. He got a good bit of experience last year. He's a rangy guy, does very well in zone coverage. He can also he'll come off the edge. Had two or three pressures last year. I think he can be really, really good at the end of the day. He'll be a rotational piece. I don't know really with what type of guy they'll put him in. I don't know if he'll be a full-time linebacker, but I do think he's going to have a good bit of what he had last year. He's going to be another rotational guy. He's going to get plenty of experience. He's going to get a lot of reps. And eventually, by this time next year, I think he can be your Demetrius Knight, like what Demetrius Knight was last year. I think he could be like Brian Thomas, who's going to be a package guy, have him on off the edge if Dylan Stewart's not in on first or second downs. So that's my opinion with what Johnson has. In my opinion, he's probably got the most upside of all the linebackers that you have. But again, he's still young. Jaron Willis is going to be a rotational guy as well. He's going to provide some quality reps. He was a former Ole Miss transfer. He's been a special teamer the last 2 or 3 years at South Carolina. This is the year where he's going to get the majority of his reps. I still don't know if he is going to be a fully developed piece. I think that he's going to get his job overtaken by a lot of these transfers that are coming in. So let's talk about them for a little bit. Let's talk about Jonathan or before we start with the 2 transfers, let's talk about the rest of your recruiting class, and let's talk about Donovan Darden. He's the prize prospect of this 25 recruiting class who's going to get a lot of reps this year. 6'3", 6'4", 231 pounds. If he puts on another 10, 15 pounds, which I think he will, I think you can move him to edge. I think he could be what Brian Thomas is this year. You could put him on the edge and play defensive end, do very well in pass pro. Darden's going to be mostly on the outside as a backer, does very well with coverage, covering linebackers, is a north and south guy, doesn't go outside of his boundary, does very well whenever it comes to run support. He's a very instinctive linebacker, and I think he's going to help you quite a bit this year. Let's talk about the 2 transfers. Let's talk, first of all, about Justin Orkanow. He's the Alabama transfer. The thing about him is that he is just learning the game of football. He could be more. He was a special teamer this past year. He has a lot of upside. He's going to end up playing a lot in this defense. Believe it or not, this dude's got an interesting story. So he's from Munich, Germany. He was the top-ranked player in Germany. Grew up doing gymnastics and played soccer. Was selected to the All-American Bowl. Was born in Germany and began his playing career playing with club teams. So you want to talk about an interesting prospect? Look at Justin Orkanow. Went to Therese von Bayern School in Munich. Wow. But last year was more of a special teamer for Alabama. Didn't get a lot of playing time, but again, this kid is still learning the game of football. I think he's still going to be a special teamer, but don't be surprised if South Carolina plugs him in crunch time, in garbage time situations, and we'll get a better look at what we can expect for the next year if he is to stay in Columbia. I expect that he will. I think he fit better in Clayton White's defense, and I think he's having more of an opportunity to play at the end of the day. But I could be wrong, guys. This is a very, very intriguing prospect that I've seen in a while. Guy from Germany. And you know how those guys are freaking swole. All right, the last one, and in my opinion, this is going to be the leader of your defense, and it's Sean Murphy. I said this in my notes. He could be your Demetrius type leader this year. I said that it could be Fred Johnson either next year or in 27 if he is to stay that long. But Sean Murphy has a lot of upside to him. He can put on another 10 pounds, and he can be a very, very good linebacker. He was a special teamer for back-to-back seasons. Missed the majority of the season due to injury during the offseason, but when he was in the game, guys, he was a very, very good player. He was a very good prospect and a guy that I think could really contribute once he steps on the field as a Gamecock. Guys, Sean Murphy is a very good player. 13 tackles, 1.5 tackles, and a recovered fumble. Had a career high tackles in the final 3 games. 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. His best game was probably Charleston Southern. He had a tackle and a half he had 1.5 tackles for loss to go along with 4 total tackles, even though he didn't play a whole lot. But you'll take it for a guy that missed majority of the season. Guys, Murphy is in my opinion, probably going to be your best linebacker at the end of the day. He's going to be your starter going into 25. I think he's going to have that opportunity to continue to elevate where he is at the moment as a prospect. And I think he's going to do a lot of great things at the end of the day for this South Carolina linebacking core. I have a lot of upside for what he's going to do in the next couple of years. So that's where I have with where the linebacking core is going to be. And I'm not saying this to be a Debbie Downer on the linebackers, but you're just so young. You don't have a lot of pieces that you can look at and say, okay, we can trust this linebacking core. It's not like what it's going to be last year.